The savings account has $4,200 in it. That's not a lot, but 18 months ago it had negative $47, and Michelle couldn't bring herself to open the app. Today she opens it on purpose, every Sunday morning, with coffee. That's what 2 years looks like. In the next 10 minutes, you're going to see exactly what those 2 years cost Michelle and what they built. Not the highlight reel, the actual decisions, the actual mistakes, and the real number she's sitting with today. Michelle is 41 years old. She lives in a one-bedroom apartment in Nashville, Tennessee. She chose it because the rent is $1,350 a month, and she can cover it alone, without asking anyone, without calculating what he owes her, without holding her breath until the first of the month. That kind of quiet didn't exist 2 years ago. In June of 2024, Michelle signed divorce papers after 11 years of marriage. She was a marketing director at a mid-size healthcare company, earning $78,000 a year. On paper, that sounds like enough. It wasn't, because on paper, she also had $31,000 in joint credit card debt, a car loan with $8,400 still on it, and a shared mortgage on a house she was walking away from. The house sold in August. After the equity split, Michelle walked out with $14,000 in her checking account. She thought that was the beginning of a fresh start. It was actually the beginning of the most expensive education of her life, and it started before the ink was dry on the settlement agreement. The first thing Michelle did with the $14,000 was nothing. She put it in her checking account and watched it sit there for 3 weeks while she figured out where to live, how to tell her 9-year-old son, and whether her salary, which had always felt like their money, was actually enough to build a life that was now entirely hers. She did what the Federal Reserve says most Americans do when they're facing a sudden financial disruption: nothing. Because doing nothing feels safer than making the wrong move. Then the credit card statements arrived. Not 1, 3. Because the debt was in both their names, but the credit card companies didn't care about the divorce decree. They cared about whose name was on the account, and Michelle's name was on all 3, $31,000. Her problem now. She called her ex. He said he'd pay his half. He didn't. Not that month, and not the next. And Michelle learned the hardest lesson of that entire first year. A divorce agreement is a legal document. It is not a payment guarantee. She had 2 choices: wait for him to do the right thing or start without him. She started without him. Step 1. She separated what was legally hers from what was legally his, and stopped waiting for both to be the same list. Michelle called each credit card company and asked one question: is this account in my name alone, or is it a joint account? 2 were joint. 1 was solely in her name, with a balance of $8,500. For the 2 joint accounts, she took different approaches. On the smaller one, a $4,200 balance, she requested to have her ex designated as the sole responsible party in writing. That took 6 weeks and 2 certified letters, but it worked. The larger joint account, $18,300, she couldn't transfer, so she froze it. No new charges, and she committed to making the minimum payments herself every month, regardless of whether her ex contributed, because she understood something important. Every missed payment on that account was a hit to her credit score. The divorce agreement didn't change that. Under federal law, creditors are not required to release a co-borrower from a joint account simply because of a divorce decree. The only reliable ways to separate joint debt are to pay the account off in full, refinance it as a solo account, or negotiate a settlement directly with the lender. A divorce court order does not override a credit agreement. It governs the relationship between spouses, not between a borrower and a creditor. Laws vary by state. Always consult a licensed attorney in your state for guidance specific to your situation. Step 2. She allocated the $14,000 with one rule she did not break. $2,000 went into a separate savings account and stayed there. She called it her floor. Not an emergency fund, just a floor, a number below which she would not allow herself to go, no matter what. $6,000 went toward the credit card in her name alone, cutting the balance from $8,500 to $2,500 in one move. $4,000 went into a separate account designated for minimum payments across all accounts. Roughly 4 months of breathing room while she got her monthly cash flow under control. $2,000 stayed liquid for transition costs, the security deposit gap, a used couch, the things that show up in the first 60 days and can't wait. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau recommends that anyone restructuring finances after a major life event, divorce, job loss, or a health crisis, separate emergency reserves from debt payoff funds before making large lump sum payments. Paying down debt aggressively while leaving yourself with no liquid buffer often leads to new debt within 60 to 90 days, erasing the progress made. Step 3. She negotiated the car loan. The 2018 Honda CR-V had $8,400 left on the loan. The monthly payment was $340. Michelle called the lender and asked a simple question. Do you have a hardship deferral program? They did. They offered her a 60-day payment pause. No penalty, not reported to the credit bureaus. If she submitted the request in writing before the due date. She did. Those 2 months of no car payment gave her room to settle into the new apartment without going into overdraft. Many auto lenders offer hardship deferral or forbearance programs that are not advertised on their websites. These programs typically allow 1 to 3 months of deferred payments, with interest continuing to accrue on the outstanding balance. Requesting deferral proactively, before a payment is missed, is critical. A missed payment reported to the credit bureaus can lower a credit score by 60 to 110 points. Always request deferral in writing and get written confirmation from the lender before the due date passes. Step 4. She started the payoff plan in month 4, not month 1. This was the decision Michelle got wrong the first time. In month 1, she tried to build a full debt payoff plan before she actually knew what her new monthly expenses looked like. She didn't know yet what her son's after-school program would cost on her income alone. She didn't know what the utilities would run in the new building. She built a plan on assumptions. The plan collapsed in 6 weeks, and she went 2 months without tracking anything at all. When she restarted in month 4, she had real numbers, and she used one rule. Every dollar above monthly expenses and minimum payments went to the highest interest card first. Not the smallest balance, not the one that made her feel worst, the highest rate. According to the Pew Research Center, in 2023, over 1.8 million Americans divorced, and a third of everyone who has ever been married in this country has gone through it. Michelle was one of them. The difference was that she decided the number in her savings account would not define how that chapter ended. Step 5. She rebuilt her credit with exactly one tool. By month 8, the credit card in her name alone was paid off. Balance, 0. She didn't close it. Keeping a paid-off card open and using it for a small recurring purchase each month preserves your credit utilization ratio and protects the length of your credit history, both major factors in your score. She used it once a month for groceries and paid the full balance before the due date, every single month. Her credit score had dropped to 584 at the time of the divorce. By month 12, it was back to 661. By month 24, it was 703. Not excellent, good enough to move forward. 2 years after signing those papers, here's what Michelle's life actually looks like. She has $4,200 in savings, money she put there herself month by month without anyone's help. She has $11,200 left on the joint credit card. Her ex started contributing at month 9, not reliably, but enough to move the number. She has $2,900 left on the car loan. Her credit score is 703. She is not debt-free. She is not the version of herself she imagined at 41. But she owns her numbers now. She knows what's in every account. She knows what's coming in and what's going out. And she told me, "The thing nobody says out loud about financial recovery after divorce is that the hardest part isn't the math. It's the 6 weeks somewhere in the middle where you've stopped believing it's working and you haven't yet seen proof that it is. That's the stretch where most people quit. Michelle didn't quit, and the savings account she opens every Sunday morning is the proof. If you've been through a divorce, or you're in one right now, I want to ask you one real thing. What was the first financial decision you made after? The one you got right or the one you'd redo if you could? Leave it in the comments. Someone watching this right now needs to read exactly what you write. And if this video found you at the right moment, share it with one person who needs it, not as advice, just as proof that it's possible. If Michelle's story felt familiar, if you recognized yourself in any part of it, there's one more thing you need to hear. Next week, we're following a woman who started her debt-free journey with a single phone call. $31,000, one decision. If you don't want to miss it, subscribe and hit the bell. This channel exists for exactly the moment you're in right now.